This is your spoiler warning for Jessica Jones Season 3. If you have not seen the full series of Jessica Jones, then please leave now. But if you're sticking with me, then let's discuss the third season of Marvel Netflix's Jessica Jones. So, Jessica Jones Season 3, I really liked it. I really did quite like it. Basically, Season 1 of Jessica Jones is by far my favorite. I thought that was a fantastic season of television, really great, and then Season 2 dipped off a little bit. It was a very solid season of television, very enjoyable, very interesting, very engaging, but just never reached the heights of Season 3 or Season 1, and never the consistency either. Season 3 was very much akin to Season 2. It was solid, it was entertaining, it was engaging, it was very good, it was very fun to watch, and I say fun not in the sense that it was a fun show, but in the way that Jessica Jones or any dark show is fun to watch. So it was just good. And I'm not actually sure which season I preferred, Season 2 or 3. I know that Season 1 is my favorite, but Season 3 I thought was very much on par with Season 2. And if you didn't like Season 2, you're probably not going to like Season 3. But Season 3 did manage to dodge some potholes that I was expecting them to fail. So, Trish Walker, I wouldn't say I was expecting them to fail with Trish Walker, but the way that Season 2 ended was worrying for me. It did concern me going into this season because I didn't know if that was an element they were going to be able to handle well. That just seemed like the kind of thing that just wouldn't fit in with this universe, but they pulled it off, and I thought they pulled it off really well. And so I like the stuff with Trish Walker and where that goes. There's a new character in this season, Eric, and I really like Eric. I thought he was a really solid addition. This actor, whose name I can't recall off the top of my head, really reminds me of Oberyn Martell from Game of Thrones. Pedro Pascal is the actor who plays him there. And he just kept reminding me of Oberyn throughout the whole season, and I can't stop thinking about that. So yeah, he reminds me of him, but he's just a good character and he's enjoyable, and it turns out he's a super too, and his power is interesting. It does remind me a bit of basically Dunn's power from Unbreakable, and it's not the same. It does result in the same sort of effect, though, in that he can determine if someone's bad. So it's not the same as the Unbreakable power, but it is similar to that in certain ways. And he's just a good character, and I do like him in this. And the villain is good, Salinger. He doesn't actually show up for like 4 episodes or something, so it is weird how the trailer shows him a good amount and stuff going on in like episodes 4 to 6, and then there's like 3 episodes before that just kind of finding their feet. And the show doesn't fully find its feet until a few episodes in, when it really starts to get some momentum building. But the stuff that happens in those first like 3 episodes is good stuff. It's just doesn't feel like it's got any full momentum. Like, oh, this is where this is going. This is a hook. This is what is keeping you interested for this season, which is fine because it's good. It just, if it was a lesser show, that might have hurt it. But yeah, he's a good villain, not a great villain, nothing like Kilgrave, or even if I was to compare him to other villains like Wilson Fisk, like he's nothing on their level, but he is a good villain, and he does play well for this season. I thought he worked. So I really liked what went on with Jeri Hogarth, or Jaren Hogarth, whatever you want to say. So her character and everything revolving around that was more interesting than I thought it would be. She's always been a good character, and she's been good in these shows, and I just like the direction that they went with her, and basically how well, I'll talk about her end later, but I just thought that all those elements were handled well. Malcolm is a really solid character. I like how he's in such a much better place in his life here than he was at the start of the show, because before he was just a druggie and he was just in a horrible place, and now this is where he is. And at the end of the season, he's not in like the best place ever, but he's in a much better place than he was at the start of the show. So it's nice in a show so dark, there is a character who is in a better position than he was at the start of the show, and someone to latch onto in that way. Because I wouldn't say that, say, Jessica Jones or Trish Walker are in better positions than at the start of the show, but that's debatable. So then moving on, yeah, they handled Trish Walker well, they handled Malcolm well, they handled Jaren Hogarth well, and aside from that, Trish's mom, I thought they did a good job with her, and as I said, spoilers, her death was really surprising, and it shouldn't have been, because she's the kind of character you can easily kill off. Like, oh, that's something we can do. We can just kill that person off. She wasn't that crucial of a character, but she was crucial to Trish Walker and to an extent Jessica Jones as well. So I thought that element played really well in the story, her death and what that led to, and that was handled well. And I'm just going to talk about Jessica Jones now. She's great. She's been great for every show that she's been in here. For Defenders, for her first 2 seasons, she's been great. Kristen Ritter does a great job at those lines and delivering them well, and she's just fantastic at that. So I could watch that all day. And yeah, her character's great, and the point that she's at here is believable and realistic. And the way this show has gone, I just think is interesting. And while I do think firmly the first season is the best by miles, the next 2 seasons have been really solid and really engaging, and I have enjoyed what they brought to the table. And ultimately, the stuff going on in this season is interesting. What we have here is entertaining television, and it's all handled well. And these elements all come together in ways that are interesting, and it all ties together nicely. I can't touch on everything because there's quite a bit that goes on, but there is just a lot of really good stuff that's well handled. And now, at this point, I've established that I liked it. I want to jump to the very end, and I'm going to talk about the finale, because the finale is essentially the end to the Marvel Netflix saga and the end to this Jessica Jones series. And for a finale that obviously could only be somewhat planned as an end to the whole show, because they didn't have an advance before the season that this was going to be the last season. So I'm sure they could have done some minor tweaking to what was happening there, but essentially this finale could only be somewhat planned, and not entirely. And for what they could have done, I thought they did a solid job, if I'm being perfectly honest, because I thought it satisfyingly ended the show in a way that it just felt satisfying. And I like how Jessica is leaving all this work behind her, and then at that last moment, then she is remembered of Kilgrave, and she goes, no, this is not what I'm going to do. I'm not going to give up. Fuck you. I'm not going to do that. So she decides to stay, and she decides to keep doing the detective work and not to give up, or the superhero work, And I really like that, because Kilgrave really was important to her character, and the fact that he's still informing her decisions well after his death just makes sense, and it just feels true to her character and to his character and to the dynamic they had and the relationship they had, as messed up as it was. And I like that as an element, because he's informing her in a good way, because she is going off to do good stuff. And the way they ended Jerry Hogarth was really sad. The way Kith just left her, and the line that she had was brutal, and that kind of hurt a little bit. And also the way that Trish just has to get sent off to prison, that also hurts. It's just like, man, you just went too far, Trish. Come on, this had to happen. You went and had to do that, and this is what you made her do, So that's all very unfortunate. And I predicted that Eric would be out of here by the end of the season. I didn't think he would die, because this wasn't intended as a final season, but I did feel like he was going to leave, and he ended up leaving, and you know what, that's just how it went. Also, Mike Coulter was in this episode as Luke Cage. That was very fun. I was happy to see him back for the final episode, because he was a pretty crucial part in that first season. So seeing him back just for a little bit with Jessica Jones was quite satisfying, and it does feel like the kind of moment that they may have done last minute or may have had planned all along, but regardless, it was a good moment, and I really appreciated it. And I thought this was a very satisfying final episode and a very satisfying season, and I just thought that it was handled well, and everything was done well, and they did a good job at making a final season, even though it was not initially planned to be their last. Overall, I thought Jessica Jones Season 3 was really engaging, entertaining, and solid. All the cast does a great job, and they did a very solid job at ending this whole series and the Marvel Netflix series. There's shows that have been great and not great and have been mixed and have just been good. This was a solid final season for this show and had lots of engaging storylines with these characters that I very much appreciated, and ultimately I left this satisfied and wishing that I had more. And I'm going to give Jessica Jones Season 3 a solid rating of 8.5 out of 10. So that's going to do it for now, folks. If you join me soon, then I'll have more Classic Who reviews. I should have a review of Chernobyl coming out soon or already out. Lots of TV reviews, Game of Thrones, Black Mirror, all that stuff. Doctor Who, if any of that is of your interest. If not, that is perfectly fine. I just appreciate your time here today. But that is going to do it for now, folks. So, thank you for watching. Take care and have a lovely week.